What's up, everybody? Nick back here with you from Project Central, and today I've got an awesome list for you. Not just a list, but a list of lists. This is a mega top 100, if you will. Check these videos out. You may have seen some of them before, but that's okay. Check them all out. Let me know down in the comments what I missed, because if you're like me and you love working on tools, sometimes too much, my wife says, you're going to want to check this list out. If there's anything you need and you don't have a Harbor Freight close to you, I'll post some Amazon links down below. But most importantly, let me know down in the comments what I missed. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Nick with Project Central back here with you. And today, grand opening of a new Harbor Freight store. It's a little bit closer to my house than the other one. And one thing I wanted to do real quick today, picking some stuff up here for future projects. But I just wanted to go inside and show you maybe like 10 things, 10 items you are possibly overlooking here at Harbor Freight. So let's go check it out. Okay, so the very first thing, if you're not signed up for the coupons are number one. You should always look at the last promotional ad because there's a bunch of coupons they dump out at once. But my favorite place to go, it's Harbor Freight coupondatabase.com. I'll post a link, and but it's cool because they've compiled a lot of the non-expiring coupons and the percentage off coupons, and they do a good job over there. So that's definitely the first tip. Next up is the Rivnut setter. These things are awesome. They are really cool for whenever you need to either temporarily attach something so you can remove it later, versus like a rivet, which is semi-permanent unless you drill it out and redo it. But these will actually put in a threaded insert and then smush them together. Here, we'll maybe show some video of how that works. But for 50 bucks, I think the one I bought off Amazon was way more than that, and I've used it a bunch. It's great for like firewall work when you're mounting something to a firewall, or if you need like just put a bolt somewhere and you can't get to the back of it. Definitely consider the Rivnut tool next time you're at Harbor Freight. Next item on the list, did you know that Harbor Freight has their own brand of like epoxies and super glues, stuff like, I think this is basically JB Weld, but for $5, this stuff is quite a bit cheaper. So if you're like, look at this thread locker, red thread locker. If you go to the parts store and get some of this thing would be $10. Definitely consider picking some of this stuff up. I didn't even know they had this. The other store is hidden, but this new store, it's kind of laid out better. Coming in at $10, cordless micro engraver. Very handy if you're in a shop with other dudes or dudettes that have some sticky fingers. They like to borrow your things. You can take this, just put a little initial or make like a line or something to mark your stuff to make it different from everybody else's stuff. Because remember, there's only one thief in the shop. Everyone else is just trying to get their stuff back. Next up, step bits. Specifically talking about these ones are about $14. These, the set of 3, especially like in a drill press, they do fantastic. They work in all sorts of materials, and these ones go from 1/8 inch to 3/4. Very, very, very handy to have a set of these. And then, like whenever you get the coupons that are, 10% off anything under $20 or whatever, and then these do go on sale quite often. So keep a look on those, but step bits, very, very handy. Next up, electric foot switch. This is pretty handy, right? So like if you want to be able to use both your hands while you're turning your machine on and then have it turn off when you're done, you can, plug this in and then plug the machine to that. I can see using this on like a bench grinder. That seems like a
pretty smart decision. You know, walk up, step on the foot pedal, bench grinder starts up, you got both hands free, maybe you've got, you know, some PPE on or whatever, and then when you're done, you just step off of it and the bench grinder will stop. So, kind of cool. Maybe check that out next time you're at the store. Next up, one of my favorite hammers, the brass hammer. Right, 2-pound brass hammer. The beauty of the brass hammer is that you can hit stuff, like if you need to drive in bolts through stuff, you can hit it with the brass hammer and it won't gall the ends up because the brass is softer than the steel you're hitting. It's great for driving, like I said, anchor bolts into concrete. It's really good for that because it doesn't mar it. You can still put the nut on afterwards, or like if you're trying to persuade something into shape, into place, and you don't want to put any marks on it, brass hammer is the way to go. About $30. It's kind of pricey, but it is 2 pounds of brass, so seems about like it should, priced like it should. Drill pump, $18. But if you've ever had to like pump, I don't know, oil out of a, you know, drum or something like that, and you don't have like the right tool, well, this will attach to your drill, and you put a, you know, cut off piece of garden hose on each end, and it's awesome. For $20, it's almost disposable. So like if you had diesel you're trying to move over, or from one tank to the next, or whatever, definitely check these out. Another thing is, we talked earlier about the Harbor Freight brand epoxies and glues and stuff. Also check their like name brand chemicals, because sometimes they're $1 or $2 or a couple bucks cheaper here than they are even like on Amazon. So definitely something to watch out for. Price shop, price shop, price shop, always. Because this is the last, probably most expensive item on the list, Jackery which one is this? Explorer 290. I bought one of these last year. It was not full price. This one is, they are now $199. This is an awesome deal. I had to use a store manager no exclusions coupon to get it down to like $240. It's ridiculous with tax. So these are amazing for, you know, I use mine a lot for camping, but it's also very handy just to have charged up, throw in the car, throw in the back of the truck. And if you need to charge your phone, charge the computer, charge, you know, run, you know, it's got 12 volt DC, 120 AC, and then 2 USBs. So if you need to charge, whatever you need to charge or run, this is really good. I think you can charge, I've got a iPhone 14. I've charged it 5 or 6 times on one of these charges, so what would that last? A week? These are definitely worth checking out, especially now since they're $199. That's way cheap for what you get. You could have saved so much money, but it's whatever. Okay, let's keep moving.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Today we're doing the top 10 tools I don't think you should buy at Harbor Freight. So let's get going. All right, so the first item we're going to talk about is the lowly carpenter's pencil. They're about 70 cents each at Harbor Freight, but if you go to like Home Depot or Lowe's, you can get them for about 20 cents a piece. So if you're like me and you're constantly looking for the pencil during a project, being able to buy 3 or 4 times as many from, you know, the big box hardware store, it's a way better deal. Next up on the list is grinding and cutting cutoff discs. These flap wheels and these cutoff discs. You may think that Harbor Freight is way cheaper than the big box stores, which they normally are, but if you compare them to online prices, they are still quite a bit expensive, more expensive. I usually buy these in bulk packs of 50, and they are about half off of what you can get from Harbor Freight. So, as always, I'll post some links down below in the description if you're interested in any of these items. But buying a big old giant pack of flap wheels and cutoff discs is awesome because it takes, at least me, it takes a long time to, really work through that stuff. And you've always got something on hand. Next up is tape measures, actually. So my favorite tape measure is this green Fast Cap. It's my favorite because it has a bunch of amazing features. If you look, if that'll focus, it is actually a lefty-righty. So no matter which way you pull the tape from, you can always read face up what's on, what your measurement is. Not only that, but they have a place to write, measurements if you're doing a bunch of repeated cuts, or, you're inside and your saw is outside, you write down the measurement of what you need to cut, and it's got a built-in pencil sharpener. Best part is, these are about $8 on Amazon, so they're very much comparable in price to most of all the Harbor Freight tape measures, but this is a much better tape measure overall. It's my favorite one. Next up, sticking with the construction theme, is chalk boxes. So these are Chalkrite from Tejima, I think that's how you say it. I'm probably butchering that because I'm from Oklahoma and this is a Japanese company. But I've had these for probably a decade. I've got a red one and a blue one for permanent and not so permanent lines. These are quite a bit more expensive than the Harbor Freight ones, because the Harbor Freight ones are like $3.99. So if you need something that's going to be literally disposable and you're going to throw it away when you're done, that's probably not a bad deal for something that, if you're out in the mud or whatever, you're going to just toss it afterwards. But if you want some really, really good chalk boxes, these are amazing. Not only do they have like an actual lock, ooh, I should have done this with the blue, but I don't know if you can see, but that string is super thin. It's thinner than even like Mason's line. They lock. They're gear driven, so you can never jam them. And because of the shape, they're supposed to work as a plumb bob, right? Double as that since they lock. These are awesome. Like I said, I've had these for about a decade. I got these when I started in commercial construction work, and they have been amazing. I've never had any problems with these. They're money well spent. But I think they're 20-something bucks a piece now. So if you're looking to invest in a good set of chalk boxes, these are the ones. So I've talked before about how much I like this Jackery. This thing is awesome. This is not what's on the list. What's on the list is solar products. So one of the things I have is this folding solar panel that I got off of Amazon. This is supposed to be a 60 watter, but the actual recommendation not to buy at Harbor Freight is solar panels and products. If you just get on Amazon, a quick search for a comparable product is usually quite a bit cheaper. I don't know, 20 or 30% cheaper. And obviously this is without sale prices or anything, but if I recommend buying the Jackery at Harbor Freight because it's like $1.99. It's way cheaper than it was last year. But for like the solar panel and accessories, get on Amazon, get on some other place, and you can pick them up quite a bit cheaper. That's what it's all about, saving money. We've all seen the wall of these types of cases. A lot of this stuff is great. This is heat shrink tubing. I've used most of it on projects recently, but the hardware, like unless you're looking for just a bunch of hardware to have laying around, I don't see the purpose of buying a bunch of random stuff. Like go to the hardware store, go to Ace, and get what you need. I think it's gonna be probably better quality than what you buy. It's not gonna be made of Chinesium, so unless you're looking for something specific, consumables, heat shrink, rivets, stuff like that. That's where I get all my stuff like that. But for like actual hardware, nuts and bolts, go to the hardware store. What are we doing, people? Number 7 is going to be their tool roll. I bought one recently for my son to get his stuff organized. But after we bought it, I brought it home. I was like, this thing is obnoxious. It's overly fat. It is not as good as these ones. These are the Bull tools. I've got one red, one blue, one's metric, one's standard. And you can just see it is way thinner. There's about the same amount of wrenches in here. Way thinner. And it's just like, if you're trying to store this is going to be way easier to store than this big old fat thing. Especially if you're like in a car, or like a carry toolbox, like you're going to the junkyard or something. And I don't think these were even that much more expensive. But I can't remember. I bought all this stuff a long time ago. Except for these. This was about $12. And I was just very underwhelmed with what this is. The material is like super thick, which I guess is nice because it'll probably last forever. But for like putting it in a tool bag and carrying it around, not my cup of tea. This is going to be all of the automotive specialty tools. And before you flame me and say, oh my gosh, you're an idiot, all I'm saying to do is price check them. Because you can either get the loaner tool from like AutoZone or O'Reilly's. They both do that. I think Napa even does that. You can do the loaner tool program and take a chance on that, but that's usually free, so it's not that big a deal. Or like what I did recently, I had to buy this pneumatic fan clutch set. Harbor Freight, they're about $75, and this set on Amazon was the same price as the Inside Track Club price. So, you know, I needed it, got it delivered next day, and I ordered it while I was at work, and it showed up, you know, the next day while I was at work. So all I'm saying is look at some of this stuff a little bit more closely. Don't just assume that Harbor Freight always has the lowest prices, because sometimes they don't. Sometimes all the stuff gets made in the same factory, and you know, it's some places have a little bit more markup than others. And but I do have a lot of automotive tools from Harbor Freight. A lot of the stuff is the best deal out there, especially when it goes on sale and coupons. But just price shop, because, or unless you just need it right then it doesn't really matter. You just got to go buy it. But price shop, Harbor Freight's usually the second or third place I check after checking to see if it's a loaner tool from the parts store, like AutoZone or O'Reilly's, like I said, or, you know, I'll price shop on Amazon before I just go out and buy some from Harbor Freight. Unless it's on sale, it's a coupon, it's a good deal. Alright, next up, sticking with the automotive theme to close. We're going to stick with the automotive theme to close this out, but it is the old-fashioned cylinder bore. That thing has been basically replaced by the Dingle Ball. Dingle Ball is way better. You know, you can buy it in different grits. You can buy it in different sizes. This company called Brush Research, and they make whole kits. These are great when you're building engines. You can go from one grit to the next and not just take a chance on the cylinder hone and you have no idea what grit it is. Hopefully you're holding it right. This is pretty foolproof, and I'm kind of dumb sometimes, so whenever all you got to do is throw some degreaser, or, you know, I think we used diesel or something last time I used this. Spray with a little bit of diesel or, you know, oil or whatever, and run it up and down the cylinders a couple times. Idiot proof. Ask me how I know. Alright, next item. Sticking with the engine building theme of these last couple items, it is going to be this is an ARP version, but this is a tapered cylinder ring compressor. We've all seen the the cylinder ring compressors that you put around, you tighten them, you hold it over, and you have to like hammer it in. Forget all that noise. If you're spending thousands of dollars probably building an engine, buy the, I don't know, the tool that's a little bit more expensive to make your life incredibly that much easier. So the way this works is this interior ring. So this measurement here is for the interior ring. So you put it and it'll index into the cylinder, and then because it's tapered, as you push the cylinder down, all the rings will compress to the right amount, and all you have to do is guide it through and tap it in and send it home to the crankshaft. So that is what I would suggest for when you're building engines. These are way better, and if you're like me and you're like a certain type of car guy, right? If you're building an LS engine, all the 5.3s are going to have the same bore, unless you're doing machine work or whatever. But if you're building 5.3s or 6.0s, or you're building Coyote motors or whatever you're building, buy one of these. This thing's 5 years old and it's still brand new because I've only used it a couple times. But this is a tool that I'll have probably the rest of my life building Jeep engines. What's up, everybody? This is Nick over here at Project Central, and today we're going to talk about my top 10 items I wish Harbor Freight would sell. For the past, 15 years or so, I've been buying tools at Harbor Freight. I've spent a lot of money. I've got old Series 1 44-inch top and bottom boxes, a bunch of hand tools, lots of power tools. I've bought a ton of stuff from Harbor Freight over the years. And there's a few things that I really wish they would sell. So, let's get started. Number 10. I wish they would sell a small footprint CNC plasma table. They've really upgraded their welding and plasma cutter line over the past few years, with the titanium stuff. And, they've got good plasma cutters, they've got good welders. I don't think it's that much of a stretch to think that they could, rebrand a CNC plasma table. A small 2 foot by 2 foot table would be perfect for small fab shops and kind of the prosumer upper echelon hobby level. I would love one. It would be awesome to be able to cut out, tabs out of 1/4-inch material for axle swaps and working on these Jeeps and other cars. That'd be awesome. I've seen some that are in the $3,200 to $3,300 range around, and I absolutely think Harbor Freight could swoop in and corner that market of 2 foot by 2 foot tables. It'd be awesome. I'd love it. All right, next up at number 9, I don't understand why Harbor Freight hasn't rebranded a track saw. These are awesome tools. It's like a circular saw, but it rides on a rail that you get a perfectly straight cut every time. Festool, I think, was the first ones to do these. Maybe I'm right or wrong. I don't know. But I know Milwaukee's come out with one last year. Makita's got one. I think DeWalt's got one. They've got battery-powered ones now. I've even got a cheap one from Amazon, the Win brand. It's the super cheapo tools. But it's awesome. I use it all the time. It's great for cutting down plywood sheets. I've even done rips of thin material. I use it so much I actually got rid of my table saw out of my garage just because I found that I was using the track saw way more than the table saw, even for small stuff. So that'd be an easy one that I absolutely think they should sell in stores. All right, number 8. I recently picked up the titanium modular fixture table. It's really cool. It's got, all the holes for all the clamps and all the tube mounts and stuff. But I wish they would sell those clamps and those adapters and other accessories for that table by themselves. I'm sure they will eventually, but that table's been out maybe a year, less than a year. I don't know. But I would love to have another set of those clamps and tube mounts and the stops, and I'd love all of that stuff, but its own little package, not having to buy a complete another table kit, because I'm not doing that. All right, number 7. And this one kind of baffles me a little bit. I don't understand why Harbor Freight doesn't have any swag. No swag. They've got those cheap tumbler cups, the stainless steel cups. Why don't those say Harbor Freight on them? You know, they've got their own brand of Harbor Freight, you know, epoxies and adhesives and stuff. Why can't we get some work shirts? Why can't we get some hats? Let's get some swag. You know, if you go to Snap-on or Lowe's or Home Depot, you can get swag. You can get branded stuff. I would love to have some garage shirts, a hat to wear in the garage, some of that stuff that I don't really mind messing up because I know I can go get another one. So some swag would be cool. All right, number 6. I think I know why we don't have this, and it's because of the thieves. And that is single sockets and wrenches. If you go to Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace, any like other tool store, you can usually find single sockets and wrenches. It makes a lot of sense for filling out, you know, missing pieces in your toolkit. You know, if I'm putting together a specific toolkit that I'm going to keep in a vehicle for a trail rig, or maybe like my wife's car, and I'm missing, you know, my 10 millimeter, obviously, I'd like to be able to go pick one up every once in a while. Or if, you know, if you're looking for that one random size socket that you're going to weld something onto and it's going to be kind of disposable, it'd be really nice to just be able to buy that one. But I get it. It's probably because, you know, a $2 socket's gonna, a lot of those are gonna walk away from thieves, which sucks for the rest of us. All right, we are halfway through the list. That was the first 5 items. If you could give this guy a like and a subscribe, it really helps the channel. And let me know down in the comments what you wish Harbor Freight would sell in the stores. All right, number 5, and that's gonna be the rest of the Central Machinery style tool line that's missing at Harbor Freight. If you look at those tools, a lot of them are branded, you know, branded by different people, sold at different price points under a bunch of different names. Take the 3-in-1 brake shear roll, the 30-inch one. That same tool is sold under the Central Machinery line, Clutch at Northern Tool, and Eastwood sells basically the same thing. And that's basically what I'm talking about, is all those Eastwood tools. If you go on their website and look around, there's a lot of really, really cool metal shaping tools that I don't understand why Central Machinery doesn't rebrand most of those. I would love a bead roller, you know, a powered or non-powered bead roller. I think Harbor Freight even used to have one, but it's insane to me that they have the giant English wheel, you know, a brake, all these pretty good metal shaping tools for like the, you know, prosumer level or hobbyist level, but half of the line just not there. So, you know, bead roller, like I said, big English wheel. You can buy the big one, but you can't buy the benchtop one, which I would love to have. Because space is an issue, you know. They sell shrinker stretcher set at Harbor Freight, but not any other like of that type of sheet metal tools. I don't get it. That like level, if you're doing shrinking and stretching, you know, you should be able to be able to buy like a planishing hammer or, you know, something like that. It's just crazy. And I wish they would sell it, because I would buy quite a bit of it, because I really want to get into that type of stuff more. All right, number 4. They've got the Yukon brand 48 and 36-inch giant storage cabinets. But if you don't need a giant storage cabinet, maybe you need an upper or a lower cabinet. Not an option. You go to Home Depot, Lowe's, something like that. They've got their, I think Gear Wrench is one of the brands. I think Craftsman has metal cabinets. But you can buy upper and lower cabinets. and accessories to really organize your garage. And I don't understand why they stopped at the big giant storage cabinets and they don't have, upper and lower cabinets and modular accessories and, workbench tops. Even if that stuff is all online, even if it's just online only, I would love to be able to, think about, oh, maybe I could put an upper cabinet here, for storage. Not an option. Not an option. They do so awesome on their like big toolboxes and other storage solutions that it just seems like kind of a gap in the lineup. All right, top 3. And that is going to be a big air compressor. How come they sell like a ton of air tools, including like sandblast cabinets and stuff, and the biggest compressor they have is a 29 gallon? Come on, guys. Let's get a 60 gallon tank. Let's get a 60 gallon compressor. They already sell the replacement compressor pumps and stuff. They already sell that part, and they obviously know how to make decent air compressors. I see them on job sites all the time. Almost every day I see a Harbor Freight compressor out there in the field, but we can't figure out how to make a 60 gallon tank or rebrand one or what. It's crazy. I would love to have a big compressor here at the house for the shop, but because I've never bought one, most of my tools now I switch to electric. But I would love a big 220 compressor. They're actually a lot quieter than people think, so I could run one here and not make my neighbors too upset, kind of like they usually are. But that's a different story. So yeah, big compressor would be awesome. Number 2 is going to be the rest of the other 2 items I think Harbor Freight really needs to complete the tube bending and like roll cage package, right? They already sell a tubing notcher. They already sell a tubing roller, right, for doing big, longer radiuses. They sell good welders and consumables and all that stuff. But the 2 big gaps in their line is a tubing bender, like a real, like a manual tubing bender, like think JD Squared or anything like that. That's not that complicated of a machine, right? Not that complicated. They could absolutely add one of those to their line and sell a bazillion of them. But the second one, which I think is an even bigger oversight, is a cold cut saw, right? They've got the 14 inch, I think it's 14 inch, 16 inch, I think it's a 14 inch abrasive chop saw. No, if you've ever used a cold cut saw, you'll never go back to one of those again. It uses the one I have is I've got a DeWalt. I bought it used. These saws are not new technology. I think Evolution is the brand that really popularized them, but yeah, I mean, they sell so many great welding products and consumables and all that stuff that I would love to see a Bauer branded cold cut saw. I would absolutely put that up against my DeWalt saw. But yeah, it just seems like a big, huge gap in the welding fabrication lineup that they've got, which is already really good. But I think that those 2 items, the tubing bender and the cold cut saw, would really fill that lineup out really well. All right, last up is I want a plug-in 120 volt roll-lock sander, right? So here's the Harbor Freight, angle die grinder. It's got this roll-lock discs. If you've never seen these before, they're pretty cool. They've got like little threads on them. They're little sanding pads. They just go on and off, right? You use them a lot when you're trying to get into tight spaces and get up under stuff. And anyways, this is the air version. They have a battery version, but what I want is a plug-in version. I want one I can plug into an extension cord and throw a little wire wheel on or buffing pad or whatever, and not have to worry about another set of batteries. I know they do sell the I think it's the Hercules brand, one of those, and I know Milwaukee has a M12 one, which is probably the one I'll pick up eventually. But and I've even looked, nobody makes a 110 volt angle die grinder. I've got a plug-in regular, jumbo Milwaukee die grinder, and it's a beast. But I really, 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 really want a 110 volt Rolox sander. That's my top 10. Let me know down in the comments what you think. What do you wish Harbor Freight would sell? Um, you know, all if we don't ask, we will never receive. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Nick over here at Project Central, and today we're going to be talking about my top 10 basic recommendations for the driveway mechanic from Harbor Freight. Maybe you're just getting started out working on cars, maybe you're realizing that you are very capable of doing your own maintenance and saving a little bit of money, and especially in this economy. So here are my top 10 recommendations, and I'm going to include a bonus tip at the end, so stay tuned for that. All right, first up is going to be just a basic set of sockets, wrenches, and some socket extensions. Nothing crazy, just a basic set with the most common sizes. Most vehicles nowadays use primarily metric fasteners. So those are going to be your millimeter scale fasteners. And that's what I would suggest investing in first. Unless, of course, you're working on something specific, old American muscle car or whatever. So, but if you're just getting started out working on a modern vehicle, metric tools are going to be what you want. All right, and on those metric tools, make sure you get every size from 8 millimeter all the way to like 19 or 20 millimeters. So, and that will allow you to do almost every basic repair you're going to need to do. Also, another great investment while you're, stocking up on tools is a set of extensions. They have a couple different kinds, just the regular, different length of extensions. They have some that have a wobble head on them that are super trick, that may be a good investment. But they also have some that have a locking head. Those are the ones I like the most, because if you're really trying to get a socket way down deep into something, you don't want it like coming off at all. So there's a couple different brands. There's Pittsburgh and Icon. Both are good. I've had good luck with both. So just whatever your budget is on those. All right, next up, number 2. We've already talked about sockets and wrenches and stuff. Now we're going to talk about some basic hand tools. This is going to be screwdrivers, nut drivers, which is basically a screwdriver with a socket on the end of it, hammers, pliers, stuff like that. There are going to be tons of different types of fasteners. Sometimes you've got maybe like a little hose clamp you got to pull off. Maybe you've got just something you got to pry up, or whatever the situation may be. You're going to need more than just sockets and wrenches to do that. So investing in a good basic set of hand tools is great. Plus, you can use those for a million other projects around the house and, whatever else you're doing. And again, Harbor Freight has a bunch of different brands, all the way from like the multi-packs of, I'm going to say lower end tools, but they can work in a pinch, to your single tools that are a little bit more expensive. But again, pick your poison. All right, after we've been buying some tools for a while, we're gonna need a place to put those tools. So to start off with, I'm gonna suggest just a basic little tool bag, right? Something to put your sockets and wrenches in. Maybe you get a couple, one for like hammers and screwdrivers and like maybe more household generic tools, and then another one for like mechanics tools. Or maybe you just get one big one and throw it all in. I did that for a long time. Also, don't worry about ever outgrowing these, because these bags are so handy. I've got 5 or 6 of them in different vehicles, for tow straps, for roadside kits, I've got one set up just for tire stuff now. So they're very handy. It's a good investment, and they last a very long time, especially if you don't abuse them. So we've got some tools, we got a place to put them. Next, we're going to think about a little bit of safety. Not necessarily like hard hat safety, but more like convenience safety. And what I mean by that is if you're under your vehicle, put some clear safety glasses on. You don't want crap falling in your eyes, even if it's just a little rock from the road, even if you have, whatever, or dirt or crap. You don't want that stuff in your eyes. So, get some clear safety glasses, get some gloves, even if it's just a box of mechanics gloves, can definitely make it so much nicer when you inevitably get that phone call when your elbows deep in an oil change or something like that, You're going to have to scratch your nose. You're going to have to take a phone call. So some gloves are great. They make a bunch of different varieties. They make the mechanic style gloves that are disposable. They've also got leather gloves and cut resistant gloves. And, I definitely suggest investing in some of this stuff because when you get hurt and you're bleeding everywhere, you can't work on your car. So keep that in mind. At some point, every project, the lights go out. Sun goes down and you're still working on something, or the way your schedule fell, you have to work on it at night so that you can go to work the next day or go on a trip or go do whatever. And that's why you gotta plan ahead for some lighting. Basic flashlight is a great first option. If it's something quick, hey, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to diagnose this thing, see if I'm going to fix it tonight. Little flashlight's perfect. Harbor Freight has a bunch of these. I've got some of the Bauer ones. They're pretty good. I like those. I just bought one of the little puck lights. I'm be excited to try that out. But my favorite type, we used to call them drop lights. I think they call them something else now. But they're basically a directional light that you can pull under the vehicle and shine around. The corded options are what I've used forever, but they make some battery ones now. And if you've already invested in some of the Harbor Freight battery systems, the Hercules or the Bauer systems, they make these battery flashlights, and they're pretty cool because they sit on their own and you can point them at whatever you're working on. So if you're underneath a car, you can point it and you have light. You don't need to, yell at your kids to point the flashlight where you need it to. So that's good, and those are some of my favorite options. All right, now that we're finally working on our vehicle, one of the most basic maintenance items we can do is an oil change. But there are a couple tools we need to invest in to do that. Oil change ramps, if you drive something that's low enough to the ground where you can't get under it, great investment. Oil drain pan, you got to put that oil in something that's going to catch it. And most importantly, being able to catch the oil and then securely and safely dump that into another container, or be able to take that container to the auto parts store to dispose of the oil. You got to have something like that. You can't just go and get your wife's Tupperware. Ask me how I know. Not a good day. Also, I'm going to recommend getting some sort of oil filter wrench. They make a couple different kinds. They make they make these round ones that go on the bottom of the oil filter. They make some that are vice grips that clamp on, and there's some that are just like a big pair of pliers or whatever. Whichever variety interests you, definitely consider picking a pair up because I don't understand the science behind it, but after driving a few thousand miles, 5,000 or 6,000 miles, you got to do an oil change. Somehow, that filter is just glued onto the block. It is unbelievable how tight they get. I know there's also some oil filter brands that have a nut on the box, the bottom of it, where you can put a socket on it. So that may be a good option too. All right, another super common, easy repair is going to be topping off your AC, right? Doesn't sound like a super easy repair, but it is. Here in Oklahoma, it's hot, all the time. We run our AC year round, just about, because sometimes it's 100 degrees in the summer, sometimes it's 90 degrees in the winter. It just is like that. Who knows, right? But they make these AC all-in-one kit products where all you do is it's got a little push connector. You push that onto the low side of the AC. It only fits on one spot, so you put that on there. Follow the instructions and squeeze the trigger till the thing's in the green. It's super easy, super trick. And it could definitely save you a lot of money from going to a repair shop and them charging you $200 or $300 to do this. It's like a $40 can, and then once you've got the top part of it, you can screw other cans in. So it's way cheap, way easy. I'd recommend you guys check that out if you need to top off that AC. All right, next up on the list is going to be a quality floor jack or scissor jack if you're on a tight budget, and some jack stands. These are going to be invaluable tools because if you need to pull a tire off, you need to get that vehicle lifted up off the ground, put some jack stands under it, lower it back down on those jack stands so that the weight is not on the jack. It's on something that is made to handle the weight in a static load. I've seen too many videos. I've had some close calls myself on jacks failing, and it's not good. It's not good. It's not safe. So definitely good safety practice is anytime you lift the vehicle up, throw some jack stands under it. Even if it's only one, I wouldn't recommend that. I'd always recommend two, but having it so that the vehicle can't fall down and crush you. I mean, what else do I need to say, right? So invest in and Harbor Freight's got a bunch of good options. I've got the low profile, long reach one. When I was looking for that for my Jeep and trucks and stuff, that's just one that lifted the highest. So fortunately for me, it works on lowered cars too. If I ever get one, I'll use it for that. But for now, it works really good on the Jeeps and trucks and stuff. And I've had it for years, and it's doing great. All right, so we mentioned tires. So let's talk about some tire tools, right? We've all had flats. So let's invest in some basic tire tools. A small portable inflator for your tire, like runs off the 12-volt plug, or a small compressor at your house, just to air up some tires when you need to, can be a lifesaver. If you're a little low, also knowing how to and having the tools to, maybe pull a nail out and plug it just enough to get to the tire shop. If you ran over a nail, the nail comes out, and you've got a little hole. Being able to plug that with one of those cheap tire plug kits, just long enough you can actually get that to the tire shop. With modern vehicles running a lot of modern electronics, batteries die. Sometimes we leave the radio on because we're listening to it in the driveway. Sometimes we accidentally leave something on inside the car and it kills the battery. So having a decent set of jumper cables can really, 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 really save the day. All right, bonus tip time, and that is going to be one of the biggest money savers I've invested in recently, and that is going to be the Inside Track Club. So what is the Inside Track Club? They probably ask you every time you're at the counter, hey, are you part of the Inside Track Club? Do you want to be? Well, my recommendation is doing the 2-year plan. So normally it's $30 for 1 year, but if you do the 2-year option, it's $45 for 2 years. So the second year is half price basically. And the biggest advantage of this obviously is better savings. My wife and I bought a generator recently, and we saved over $100 just from the Inside Track Club. There was a normal coupon, and then the Inside Track Club coupon was twice as good. So we saved an extra 10%. Well, on a $1,000 purchase, it's over $100. So it paid for itself in that one purchase. So that means, don't tell my wife, that means I can go buy more tools, right? So if you are just getting started, if you're just getting started out, invest in the Inside Track Club first, in my opinion, because every other purchase down the road will save you a ton of money. It may be $40, $45 up front or whatever, but if you buy a nice $300 floor jack, you might save that $50 on that one purchase. So stuff to consider. All right, what's up, everybody? My name is Nick, back here at Project Central, and today we're going to be talking about my top 10 recommendations for that intermediate level driveway mechanic. So let's get started. All right, so you've mastered the oil change, mastered the tire rotation, talked about those in the last video, and you're thinking to yourself, man, that alternator just went out. I can fix that. I need to take that to a shop. Maybe you're looking at a set of headers for your car and going, I can put those on, definitely. So whether you're doing brakes, suspension, or hopefully performance parts, this is the list for you. So let's get into it. First off, again, I'm going to have a bonus tip at the end of the video, and let me know down in the comments what I missed in this video. First up, you're working on stuff, you got to stock up on chemicals. WD-40, PB Blaster, Brake Clean, I use those on almost every job. There's something that needs broke loose, degreased, or cleaned up at the end of the job. Always, right? So, and Harbor Freight's got a good selection of this. Some of it's scattered throughout the store. It's not all together. So some of the chemicals, like, oils and stuff, like two-stroke oil is with, like, the gas cans, but then there's, like, Loctite and epoxies that are kind of off by themselves. And, like, some of the main automotive chemicals are kind of on the automotive aisle, or that end cap at my store, at least. So the best way I like to stock up on these is wait till there's a really good coupon. A few months ago, they did a 30% off everything $10 and under. So I was at that store every day buying stuff. So yeah, that was fun. My wife was not happy, but it's the way things go on these big jobs. This item is going to be investing in those specialty automotive hand tools. Snap ring pliers, hook and pick set for pulling stuff out, seal puller, serpentine belt tool, stuff like that. There's going to be you might only use it once a year, you might only use it a couple times a year, you might only use it every 5 years. But if you've got it when you need it, it makes those jobs so much easier. And we are super, super blessed now, because when I started doing this, a lot of this stuff was tool truck only stuff. All right, as your repairs get more advanced, you're going to be under the vehicle more. Maybe you're doing performance stuff, like I said, like a set of headers. Having a good creeper where you can get under there, roll around. You're not scooching on your back. You're not laying laying in the dirt. So a good creeper is very, very good investment. I've got this green one. I've got the green, $40 one from Harbor Freight. It's been pretty good. I had a gray one for a long time until I ran it over on accident with the vehicle. Whoops. And had to replace it. So I've got the lime green one, and it's worked pretty good so far. I really enjoy it. And number 4 is going to be a good battery charger. Last video we talked about the importance of keeping jumper cables with you, and this time we're going to talk about having a good battery charger. Maybe you've only got one vehicle at the house and it's dead. Well, you're not going anywhere for a while, are you? So throw a battery charger on there. See if the battery can take a charge first off, because sometimes your battery won't take a charge, but you can jump the car and get it running, and the alternator will provide enough power to run the car and drive it. But as soon as you shut the car off, you're done. You're done, bud. All right, at some point, like me, you've bought so many tools that they don't fit in the bags anymore. Right? Last video we talked about just having a couple small tool bags. Now we're moving up to the tool cart. The basic, like, they've got the little two level cart. Those are pretty good. But the actual, like, service carts, those are pretty cool. If you are working in your driveway a lot, or even in your garage, having one of those that you can put your tools in, push it around wherever you need it, pretty cool. And they make that big, like, full bank tool service cart. I definitely want one of those just to push out into the driveway when I'm working on stuff. And I'd get it in purple for sure, because, I don't know, looks cool. At some point, we're going to be doing bigger jobs. You'll have that on these big jobs, right? So we talked about specialized hand tools earlier, but this item is going to be the specialized automotive tools. Stuff like the seal drivers, right? If you're having to reinstall a seal, they make a special tool that's different sized for tapping that seal in squarely. And this aisle, just walk down this aisle and just be like, oh my gosh, look at all this, look at all these cool tools. You know, some of these are great to invest in. Like I invested in a set of McPherson Strut coil spring compressors 10 years ago. They were $50, 50, $60 10 years ago. I invested in a set because, yes, they are made for McPherson Strut, but they work great on all sorts of coil springs. So if I'm doing like suspension work and I don't have the vehicle on a lift, you take those strut compressors, you squish the spring down, and you can pull it out without the vehicle on a lift. You just put them like on jack stand stuff. Makes it easy. Next time you're making a bigger repair on your vehicle, walk down this aisle, see if there's any of these items that can help you. All right, here in Oklahoma, it gets hot during the summer and cold during the winter. And I'm sure wherever you're at, you have weather. That's how it works. So having some things to combat the weather for when you're doing stuff all day in the driveway can be an absolute lifesaver. Harbor Freight makes a couple different versions of these canopies. So there's canopies for like when it's really hot, just to get in some shade. They make fans that if it's still really hot, but having a little bit of breeze blowing you can really help. And then during the winter, they make a couple different varieties of heaters, right? There's the kind of the single and dual burner that kind of sit on top of the propane heater, the propane tank, or there's like the forced induction propane heater for like small garage. That's what I'm looking at for this winter. So hopefully I can pick one of those up. They were out of stock the other day when I went to my local store, but I've got my eye on those. All right, no matter how much money we spend on our vehicles, they eventually break down. It's just facts of life. Things break. In this modern age, any vehicle newer than about 1997 should have what's called an OBD2 port, right? That's the port you plug in to talk to the computer. And hopefully that computer will tell you what is wrong with your vehicle. And you do that by having a code reader, or the fancier ones are called scanners, right? We don't need those yet. But just having a basic OBD2 reader to pull the codes and clear the codes off of your car is a great first step in diagnostics. A lot of times they'll give you the code, you just Google it, and it'll tell you what's wrong, right? O2 sensor out, NOx sensor, whatever it is, and then that will help you fix your car. So after that, a basic test light, just to see if you're getting power where you need to get power, and a multimeter. Both of those can be really good for figuring out if you've got, those are kind of the first step in diagnosing electrical issues. Next up, we need to start talking about some power tools. The first two power tools I would invest in are a drill and an impact driver. I would suggest purchasing these two first because you can do probably 50% of every job with one, right? It will help you spin nuts and bolts faster, at least getting things snugged up. Think of a valve cover, that has 10 or 15 little screws on it. You put a adapter on there for a socket, and you can go through and snug all those down a lot faster than you can doing it by hand. All right, if you're anything like me and you're constantly working in your driveway, that means you're constantly making a mess. Sometimes there's oil you left down. Sometimes it's like chunks of rust that have fallen off your car, or just dirt in your driveway. Having some cleanup tools can really make the next time you work in your driveway better, right? No one wants to lay down or be getting up and down off of the driveway if there's a big giant oil stain there. So keep a bucket of kitty litter. Harbor Freight, I don't think actually sells any like Floor Dry or oil absorb, so I just use cheap kitty litter. And then but they do have brooms, dustpans, trash bags, and like a pressure washer. I like investing in I've got a decent pressure washer that I bought from Lowe's like forever ago, and it's good every couple months to just wash down the driveway, get all the gunk and grime pushed away from the driveway, and have a kind of a fresh-ish start on getting the driveway dirty again. All right, bonus tip time, and that is going to be use the tool warranties, right? Harbor Freight has really stepped up their game over the last few years, and a lot of their hand tools, especially the sockets and wrenches and stuff, a lot of those have lifetime warranties now. And why not take advantage of that? You know, a lot of times that's why we shopped at tool truck brands, is because of the service and the warranty. You know, Craftsman used to be just about the only store brand that had a really good lifetime warranty, and now even Harbor Freight has stepped up their game, that whatever tools you pick up, they probably have a pretty good warranty on them for when you inevitably blow them up. But of course, always read the fine print. Make sure that whatever warranty you've got on your tools, that you know how to use it, and make sure, you know, if you break something, it's still covered under warranty. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick over here at Project Central, and today we're talking about my top 10 recommendations for that advanced driveway mechanic from Harbor Freight. Maybe you're like me and you watch way too much Roadkill and Cletus McFarlane, and you think I should put a turbo on everything. Maybe you're constantly searching Marketplace looking for crappy project cars to dump an obscene amount of money into. Can confirm. So here are my 10 recommendations, plus a bonus tip at the end for you. Alright, in no particular order, but first up is going to be air tools. A decently mid-sized air compressor, 20 to 30 gallons, right? You can do a lot with that. I know a lot of people have switched to all electric tools, and we'll talk about that later on. But having decent air tools can really increase productivity, I think. Not having to worry about dying batteries, and just the sheer volume of air tools that they have at the Harbor Freight store. There's practically a whole aisle of air automotive tools. So whether you're doing heavy suspension work, you need like a 3/4 inch impact with a bazillion foot-pounds of torque, or you're doing like auto body work, you need a little detail sander. Everything in between, they've got it there, and you can all run off the same compressor. And a lot of times, some of those tools are pretty affordable. I know the little cheap paint gun, usually you can get that on sale for like $10 for spraying panels and stuff. I've had one of the Harbor Freight impact wrenches for a long time. It has served me well for very many years, and every once in a while, even though I've switched to a bunch of electric tools, I still will bust that thing out if I'm doing a lot of like real heavy suspension work, because it just has a ton of power, and you know, it's worked well for a long time. If you're doing a lot of mechanic work, eventually you're going to have a rusty, crusty bolt snap off in a frame or a bracket or something. But my favorite way to do it, especially if it's like in a frame, is you take a nut, you weld it on, it gets everything nice and hot, and you just spin that bad boy right out. So the number 2 suggestion for the advanced driveway mechanic is going to be a welder. You know, a small stick welder, a decent MIG welder. This is going to not only allow you to remove, you know, broken bolts and stuff, or a stud that you can't remove. You know, being able to remove that stuff is great, but it also opens up a whole nother world of fabrication for making your own brackets, making your own like suspension tabs, anything like that. Axle swaps, engine swaps. Definitely consider that. And Harbor Freight has some great welders. They've really stepped their game up. Okay, by this point, you've got a ton of tools. Like a lot of tools. Like a lot of tools, right? Like you've never met a tool you didn't like. Ask me how I know. So we're going to need a bigger box. Harbor Freight has kind of made a name for themselves on their U.S. General boxes. They're good, especially for like home, you know, prosumer level / you know, advanced DIYers like us. We collect tools, collect a lot of them. I've had this Harbor Freight top and bottom 44-inch box. It's a Series 1. I've had it for probably 12 years now. I need some more stickers on it because I kind of ran out of stickers. But yeah, it does great. It holds all the tools I need. Hand tools, mechanics tools. I don't have any power tools in that. They're separate. But yeah, it does a great job. I've really got my eyes on that 56-inch box with that hutch on top. Ooh, yeah, I've got my eyes on that one. Maybe someday though. But for now, I'm gonna keep using this 44-inch box because it has served me well for so long. And you know, there's tons of options now. They've got the Icon boxes, which are super nice, and those would literally probably last a lifetime. But just their basic US General boxes, they've got so many modular accessories for those. They've got the side lockers, they've got the side cabinets, they've got all the other accessories that you could magnet onto them. They're really cool. So check those out if you're overflowing with tools, because I've really enjoyed my set. Alright, so we've talked about, you know, your basic sockets and wrenches and stuff, and your other videos. You've talked about more specialty hand tools, but I'm going to call out one tool specifically that we should invest in as advanced mechanics, and that is going to be a set of torque wrenches. Recently, I put some valve train back together in my Jeep, and I used this Pittsburgh 3/8 Pro. You know, those are all the valve train components are set at 20 foot-pounds. Well, if you're doing stuff like engine work or differential work or anything, you know, like transmission work, anything that's like a critical part of your engine or driveline or vehicle that you don't want to break down at the worst time, we need to take a little bit extra care. And even if we're doing it in the driveway, doesn't mean we have to be sloppy, right? So yeah, consider investing in a set of torque wrenches. Like I said, I've got the old click style torque wrenches, but I know that those Icon ones also have a really good review, also some of the fancier ones. Alright, at the start of this video we talked about how good air tools are, and they are. I will stand behind that statement forever. But caveat, electric tools have really had their comeuppance, right? They've done really good. I mean, Harbor Freight has an entire two bay selection of everything from their Mondo crazy mega 1500 foot-pounds of torque battery tools all the way down to their 12 volt cordless ratchets, and they've all got their purpose. These are great options for especially if you're going out, you don't want to fire up the air compressor, wait for it to charge, drag a hose out. If you're just going out and doing a couple things like changing a tire or pulling a transmission or pulling suspension components off, an electric impact, they are revolutionary technology in my opinion. They have really made it awesome for us driveway guys. Not only can you do it, it's easy at your house, but if you go to the junkyard, you've got battery tools now. And a lot of times they used to not let you take anything. Having battery tools to take to the junkyard to pull parts, awesome. Love it. All right, next one may be a little bit of an oddball tip, but I use it every once in a while when I'm doing some projects, and that is going to be a rivet gun and or a riv nut gun. So rivets are awesome because if you're trying to attach something like a blind rivet, you drill a hole through two pieces, stick that rivet in there, hit that gun, and poof, they are attached. You don't have to get to the back side, and if you've got a panel that you need to be removable, but you can't get to the back side if you can't reach around to put the nut and bolt together, a riv nut is really cool. So basically how it works is you have threaded inserts that you drill a hole, you put it in, and you smush them like a rivet, but the inside has threads. Most commonly I use the 1/4x20. That's a good size, and you can buy those fasteners really cheap. So like here on the side of my Jeep, I riv nutted all these on so that this panel, if I ever need to, I can remove this piece of rear quarter panel armor, and it it's pretty cool. Right, so yeah, if you want to do something a little more trick, some removable panels or some fixed panels with rivets, invest in those. A couple of the products that I think Harbor Freight is actually really known for and has made a great name for themselves in the automotive world is going to be their cherry pickers and engine stands. The folding cherry picker has become a staple in a lot of shops, right? Even if you're not doing engine work, it's great for picking up heavy axles, picking up, chunks of metal or like an anvil or whatever, picking stuff up, moving it around, and the engine stands. I've seen people make rolling tubing bender stations with those engine stands. Pretty sweet. If you're pulling an engine, rebuilding an engine, whatever you're doing, stuff like that, these cherry pickers, these fold-up ones, are really cool. And the engine stands. I've used the engine stand. My engine stand, I've used it before when we rebuilt one of my Jeep motor in my Jeep, and worked great. And now they have these super cool gear-driven ones that you can bolt your engine on, and it's got a gear you can turn in the back to rotate it, so you don't have to manually rotate it and try and flip it over. So very cool, very trick, and definitely check those out. All right, earlier in this video we talked about tool organization, right? We talked about toolboxes. This section is going to be more about parts organization. Parts and leftovers, and probably some consumable organization. Eventually, you're going to get leftover nuts and bolts that you're going to want to save because you're going to use them. Obviously, you're going to use the bucket of leftover bolts from 17 years ago. You're going to save those, and you're going to use them on something. Why would you throw them away? The factory spent millions of dollars designing these cars. We should save the bits and bobs. But you got to be able to find that stuff. We've all got that miscellaneous bucket of bolts that every once in a while we dump it out and pick through it and find stuff. But you're like extra spark plugs, extra fuel hose clamps, all those things that are kind of leftovers or miscellaneous or stuff you might use every once in a while. You got to figure out a way to organize that stuff, because you will eventually need it and not be able to find it, and it's just going to cost you more money in the long run to go to stop what you're doing, go to the store, get what you need, and come back. It's an hour for me to go to the hardware store every time. By the time I stop, push some stuff back in the garage, close it up, it's an hour. So yeah, having some stuff on hand that's organized can be a great time saver. A lot of times when we're working on old, rusty, crusty junk, there can be years or decades worth of grime and dirt and oil buildup that we need to remove so we can work on the car. Or maybe you're putting like an engine back together and you just need everything to be clean so that when you put it back together it's not going to blow up on you. Whatever the case, we always seem to be needing to clean parts, and for this we've got a few different options. We've got the most basic would be some brake clean and a wire brush, or brake clean and some sort of brush. Next up, we've got like a parts cleaner. I've got an old red one. They're gray now for some reason. They changed the color, but these are cool because you can put all your solvents in there, and then it's got a little pump that you can spray and scrub. They do pretty good. There's also some vibratory tumblers, right, for like nuts and bolts. You can throw it in there with some media and it'll clean those up as well. But my favorite that I found so far is the ultrasonic cleaner. These things are like magic. I don't understand how they work. I know that there's some sort of ultrasonic frequency that explodes the water next to a surface, and it'll remove all the dirt and grime and stuff. I've done diesel injectors. I've cleaned diesel injectors, and they work amazing for that. And I've also recently cleaned all my valve train parts I talked about earlier, putting back together my Jeep. And it's like magic. I don't know how it works, but it works so well. So consider picking up, whichever parts cleaner system you like, or all of them like I did. All right, last up, this one feels kind of like a cop-out making this list, but there's just a lot of different interests in the automotive world, auto sports world, let's say. You may be a Jeeper like me, so you may be interested in the Harbor Freight winches and off-road lights and recovery gear. That's awesome. They've got a great selection of that. Maybe you're into motorcycles. They've got stuff. They've got motorcycle lifts, motorcycle wheel chocks, stuff like that. maybe you're into detailing. They've got a whole product line of buffers and polishers and detail oriented stuff. Even we talked about creepers in the last list. They've got detail specific creepers, where like a little padded seat you can roll around and keep all your detail stuff in front of you. So whatever you're into, I believe Harbor Freight probably has some pretty cool products that you should check out. All right, time for a bonus tip, and that is going to be consider getting the Harbor Freight credit card. And as always, be strategic about this. You get 10% off your first purchase. So if you're able to wait for a good sale on, say, a big toolbox, then you can use that Harbor Freight credit card to also get an additional 10% off of the sale price. And that can be a ton of money, especially on some of the big purchases that are over $1,000, right? A top and bottom box and some tools, easy $1,000. So consider that Harbor Freight card. And also after the first sale, you can always choose 0% interest or 5% cash back. So if you're buying a lot of stuff at the store, like I do, or you're like maybe running a small mechanic shop, it'll pay for itself in the long run for sure. And that 0% interest is way better than the 18 to 20% interest that a lot of other cards charge. So anyways, hopefully that saves you some money. What's up, everybody? Back here at Harbor Freight to talk about 10 items under $10 here that I recommend. So let's check it out. All right, first off, as we're walking in the store, first one, always check the free coupons. That's number one. I'll post some right here. Bing. So yeah, those are the type of examples of what I'm talking about. May just be some zip ties, may just be, you know, a small bucket or something, but always check out the free coupons. All right, item number 2. We'll be looking at these socket, like impact bit sets. These are really good. I really like just having these. These are super handy to have. You know, that allows you to convert your drill or an impact into a socket. These sets are pretty cool because they've got, you know, a bunch of different sizes for different things, but I like the other ones. But these are number 2. Either one of those interchangeably. And those are $5 each. If you're inside track, $3. So let's check out what's next. All right, number 3. Microfiber cloths. These are awesome, like kind of shop towels, but they're really good at cleaning. That's really what they're made for. But they're still good shop towels, and they're pretty cheap. The regular red terry cloth ones, I don't really like those. I like these a lot better. And when they machine wash pretty well as also, and at $4, that's a win. Okay, number 4. This is going to be the wire wheel. We all love flap discs, right? These things are awesome. But if you're stripping paint and stuff, they do clog fairly easily sometimes. So I like these braided wire wheels. They work great for like paint removal and like rust removal and stuff like that. They also make cups and like non-braided wheels. They all work good. They're all $5 or $6 each. Very handy. So check them out. All right, number 5. High five. Give me a high five down in the comments. Let me know what you think of this so far. But number 5 is gonna be the clamps. F clamps. Little bitty squeeze clamps. C clamps. Whatever your flavor you're interested in, they've got it. And these are almost everything on this entire wall is under $10. So stock up. You can never have too many clamps, right? Item number 6 is going to be specifically this 12-inch combination square. These things are so freaking handy. If you've never used one before, they're really cool because this part, the ruler part, actually slides,
And so you can actually set a depth gauge. So say you need 1.5 inches, you set it at 1.5 inches and make a bunch of repeated 1.5 inch marks either way, because this head part slides. It's got built-in level, super handy. They're about $8. Definitely consider picking one up next time you're here. All right, next up is going to be these color-coded sockets. Each set is about $10, so to get all of them is, spend a little bit, but over time it's not too bad. And these are great. One, because they're color-coded. You can know which ones you are missing, and like they stand out a little bit better in a tool bag. But I love this set specifically because it's pretty complete. It's awesome in like a roadside bag, or like spend $30-40 on a couple of these. Get a shallow metric and a deep metric and a couple sockets and extensions, and that's a pretty basic roadside emergency kit. You can throw it for $40 or $50. You can throw all that into a bag and just keep it in a vehicle. Maybe it's something you don't drive a lot, or a spouse's vehicle or something. But look at these next time. They're pretty good. Not bad. All right, next up, we're going to talk about some tie downs. This set of 4 is $9. These are great little 1-inch tie downs. We've all been in that situation where you go to the hardware store, get something that's maybe a little bit too big for your vehicle. Maybe you're throwing it in the back, or you need just that one strap across the stuff in the bed of your truck. These are a good option. And then if you come down here, the $6 heavy duty tie down, also not bad, so consider picking those up. All right, next up is flashlights. Braun, they've got rechargeable ones, they've got ones you put batteries in, all pretty bright. They also have the little bitty like pocket ones. These are like $3, so you can get like 3 packs of these for $10. Pretty good just to keep them in the glove box and stuff like that. But if you're like me, the sun sets while you're still working on stuff, so flashlights help see in the dark for some reason. All right, last up, batteries. It's gonna be the last thing on the list. Kids controllers eat batteries, TV remotes eat batteries, flashlights eat batteries, everything eats batteries. So for $7.50, pick yourself some up next time. What's up, everybody? Nick back here with you from Project Central, and today we are going to go over my top 10 favorite tools from Harbor Freight under $25. We've already done the $10 and less list. Post that here. So if you want to go check that out, go there. But let's dive in. All right, so at number 10 is going to be a stud finder. This is super handy for whenever you're hanging up a shelf or you're attaching something to the wall that you need it to be really strong. Drywall anchors will only take you so far. They are great for hanging up pictures and stuff if you've got memorabilia in your garage. But if you're hanging up a shelf, or you've got a cabinet next to the wall you don't want it to tip over, anchoring that into a stud is a must. Harbor Freight has 2 different varieties here, the $15-ish one and the $25-ish one. They're both pretty good choices, and whatever it takes to find that stud in the wall so that whatever you're hanging up is going to be super secure. Ironically, I was going to show mine for this video, but I couldn't find it. So next. All right, next at number 9 is going to be disposable gloves. I really like these super heavy 9mm ones for working on cars, and they just seem to last a little bit longer. You can use them sometimes maybe once or more than once. Sometimes you use them 2 or 3 times depending on what you're doing. They're great for having to deal with any sort of chemicals, or like when you are just elbows deep into that project where your hands are filthy, because inevitably you're going to get a phone call, have to scratch your nose, or go to the bathroom. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. So some disposable gloves are great. I keep boxes all over my garage and the house. Usually they get down to about half a box, and I'll go buy some new ones. These are also great to watch for coupons. A lot of times you will get coupons for
20% off anything under 20 bucks. And most of these range from $10 to $15 a box, depending on what they are. So these are great items to pick up when there's coupons. All right, number 8 is going to be a high volume, low pressure spray gun. HVLP for short. They look like this. This is mine from forever ago. I've had this, but the design has not changed, and the price really hasn't changed on these in forever. You put your mixture or concoction, whatever you want to spray, in the top, hook an air line to the bottom, and you're good to go. Great for spraying stuff like clear coat or polyurethane or stuff like that, or primers or whatever you're needing to paint or spray or cover. I've used this one a lot, as you can see why it's pretty dirty, and there are some real high-end ones at Harbor Freight that are $100 plus, but they have these purple ones that are pretty affordable. They're usually under 20 bucks, 20, 25 bucks, and you can even catch them on sale for like 10 bucks with coupons. So check those out. All right, at number 7 is the BFH. We all know what this is for, right? This is my LFH. I'm talking about the BFH. So the big flippin' hammer. Usually that's a 6 or 7 pound sledgehammer, but having a variety of hammers is really good. I know some of the Harbor Freight ones are $7 or $8 a piece. So for 25 bucks, you can get 2 or maybe even 3 smaller specialty hammers or 1 big sledgehammer. They are super handy for, let's say, persuading things into place. Sometimes you need that thing out of the way, and a couple swings with a sledgehammer will get it done. Sometimes you need that concrete to be from big pieces to little pieces. It'll do it. So I really like having a variety of hammers. I've got a whole drawer full of hammers and pry bars and stuff. You can never have too many because sometimes it just takes that one special hammer to really get that project going. So check those out next time you're at the store. All right, number 6 is going to be specialty sockets. Not all of these are from Harbor Freight. I've picked these up randomly over the years, but I just wanted to show Allen sockets, Torx sockets, and these are actually inverted Torx sockets. Auto manufacturers and manufacturers of equipment love to use weird fasteners. Very rarely can you just do everything with a 10, 12, and 15 millimeter socket anymore. I've got Jeeps. For some reason, Chrysler loves putting these reverse Torx head E whatever socket bolts on the back of motors and random places where you can't get to them. So I've got a whole set of these. They are super great to invest in because sometimes there's alternatives, but sometimes there's not. If you need a Torx bit, if you need a T45, that's the only thing that's going to fit in there. So investing in some of these kind of more specialty, nuanced sockets can be a really good investment because if you don't have it, you are hosed. All right, number 5 is one of my favorite sets of pliers. These are the Doyle brand, so one of the newer brands at the store, Harbor Freight store. But these are called water pump pliers. They're basically channel locks, as you can see, channel locks. But they have this button here. You can press the button and you can lock in the jaws for whatever distance you want. So if you are trying to reach out and grab something that's funky and you can't get your channel locks, they keep slipping or whatever, these are some of my favorite. I actually found these in the middle of the road driving one day and stopped and jumped out into traffic, played Frogger, and jumped out and grabbed them. And let's just say these are the 10-inch ones. I need to go buy the 12-inch ones. And those are the ones I'm specifically calling out, is the 12-inch water pump pliers, I think they're called. But they're in the store on the plier aisle. Mine are on the top shelf. You know, they're pinky out top shelf. So check these out. I have used the heck out of these. All right, next up is going to be a cheap infrared thermometer. I'm sure a lot of us have these left over from the Rona times, but this is just I don't even know, General brand. I don't even know where I got this. But they're great because you can shoot a red dot, but it'll give you a temperature reading. They're great for, I use this a lot for diagnostic work. If I want to make sure my AC is blowing cold, I can still shoot it, shoot this down the vent to see how cold the AC is. I can use it if I've got a engine that's running and I think I've got a misfire in one of the cylinders. I can check the exhaust ports to see if there's one that's colder than the others. And it's just a great diagnostic tool. And laser pointer for the cats. Come on, that's the most fun thing ever. But for like actual tool uses, these are pretty nice to have. And Harbor Freight does have a $25 one. They've also got a more expensive one. But I'm putting the $25 one on the list because a lot of times you don't need to know exactly what that temperature is. You just, like doing AC work, you just need a range. You just need to know the temperature differential to make sure either your house or your car AC is blowing cold enough, or if you've got a cylinder that's cold. That's 95% of what I use these for. But very good diagnostic tool. Next up is a good set of straps. Even if you don't have a truck, sometimes you need to go to the store, throw something on the top of the car, strap it down, and drive it back to the house. Lumber, whatever. Sometimes, you're going to get parts or you're going to get materials, and having a good set of straps can be invaluable. Even if you're just helping a buddy move. Harbor Freight has some good selections. They've got some of these big 2-inch, 30-foot trucker straps. I've got a few of those for my trailer. They've also got these smaller ones that are like 500 or 1,000-pound load. Those are perfectly fine. And being able to secure whatever you're moving so it doesn't flop around. I sold some dirt bikes the other day. Dude didn't have any straps, so I gave him one of the super cheap Harbor Freight ones just so that the little mini bikes I sold weren't flopping around the back of his truck. So, pay it forward, I guess. Next up, pipe wrenches. This is a super duper old, made in China, little bitty, 14-inch pipe wrench. But the one I'm suggesting to you is the Big Daddy pipe wrench. Whether you're doing plumbing work or like I used to use a big pipe wrench when I worked in a Jeep fabrication shop. We used to use the big pipe wrench to hold yokes on the rear end of a car when we were, working on stuff, or if you've just got stuff you need to turn, you can't grab it with your hands, big pipe wrench. You may only use it once or twice a year, but dang, it's handy. All right, last up is going to be work lights. I picked this up the other day. I'm excited to try this out. These look pretty neat, right? I'm not going to turn it on, it's super bright. But these are 750 lumen. They've got magnets on the back. You can hang them. Work lights for when you're under a car. They've also got drop lights, right? So like this is my old drop light. It has been through the ringer. I like the LED bulbs in the drop lights. Back in the day when you're using incandescent bulbs, you used to drop them too hard and they'd explode. Not that much fun. It sounds fun now, but not that much fun whenever you are working on a car at midnight so you can go to work the next day. Not great. But having lights, whether you're changing out a faucet under the sink, you need lights for that. Whether you're working on your car in the middle of the night trying to get that engine swap done so you can go to work in 3 hours after an hour's nap in the car, in the garage. So whatever you're doing, the lights eventually go out. It gets dark, even, gosh, it seems like during the winter it gets dark at like lunchtime. So having good work lights can be an invaluable asset to working on stuff. What recommendations do you have for everybody out there who shops at Harbor Freight like us, trying to save some money? Post them down in the comments. What's up, everybody? Nick back here with you from Project Central, and today we're going to be talking about my top 10 recommendations from Harbor Freight under 50 bucks. We've already done the 25 and under list. That's right here. So let's do the $50 and under list. Let's go. First up is going to be the Inside Track Club. This comes in at $29.99 for 1 year, and for a long time I didn't have this, and I just kind of thought, oh, well, it's kind of a gimmick. But, it's really not. There are actually some crazy deals, especially if you're buying bigger items. We bought a generator this year, and we saved over $100 on that purchase just from our extra Inside Track Club savings. You also get access to the parking lot sales and like their monthly sales, usually a few days earlier, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal. But when stuff sells out over the weekend, it's because the Inside Track Club people scooped it up during the week. So you want to be one of them. On a small side note, earlier this year we purchased the 2-year membership. It used to be 2 years for $45, but it looks like they've discontinued that for some reason, and I'm not sure why. That's what I was going to recommend, but the 1 year is still really good and will save you money, especially on big purchases. Now let's go to the garage and check out number 2. All right, out here in the garage, and number 2 is going to be a good grinder. I've got this Warrior brand. These are the super cheapest ones at Harbor Freight, and I don't even know if they sell these anymore. But this is a Chicago electric grinder, kind of the same. They've really stepped up their game. They've got a lot of better grinders now. The ones that I've been using for years are the absolute bottom of the barrel. So a good grinder, like an actual good one, not these crappy ones that I keep buying, are awesome. That's probably going to be one of my next fabrication purchases, is one of these bigger. I think it's a 7.5 amp. There is a great benefit to having multiple grinders though. I keep a flap wheel on one, a cutoff disc on one. I'd love to have one where I just keep a grinding disc on, so that you don't have to keep swapping them out all the time. So check out their grinder section if you got an extra couple bucks to spare next time you're at the store. If you're like me and you're constantly working on old crappy cars, then you are going to be working on stuff at night. So having some good shop lights in the garage or shop or wherever you're working is invaluable. All right, so back in the day we used to have to use fluorescent bulbs. About half the lights in my shop right now are these T8 bulbs, right? Fluorescent tubes. They've worked for a long time, but as they've gone out, I've replaced them with these LED shop lights, like these ones that Harbor Freight sells. And I could not be happier. Being able to not have to worry about busting bulbs. I've hit these before and shattered them with a piece of material or whatever, and that's not fun when you're in the middle of a project, especially at night, when you're needing that light a lot, and you jam a 2x4 up into your light fixture and blow up a bulb on yourself. Not recommended. So if you are needing a shop light upgrade, these ones from Harbor Freight are pretty good. It's awesome being able to link them together, right? So you can link, I think, 6 or 8 of them together because their power draw is so much less. And unless you're Clark Kent and you can see in the dark, the more light, the better. All right, next up on the list is going to be welding rods, right? If you've got a stick welder, you go through rods. If you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or I think even Amazon, they're just not that affordable. I thought welding rods used to be really affordable. You used to be able to get a super big can, like a 50-pound like tin with a like Pringles can thing you pull off the top for like $50 back in the day, but that's not current prices. These are about 30 bucks for 10 pounds at Harbor Freight. And it sounds like a lot, but if you're smart with them, you can make them last quite a while. That's still about half the price as like Lowe's and Home Depot. Those are usually $30 for like a 5-pound box. I'd still do a lot of stick welding. I've got a decent MIG set up, but I still do a lot of stick welding because, well, it's just a lot cheaper and a lot easier sometimes, honestly, not having to worry about the gas running out or the wire running out, or you're welding thicker material where you can really crank that heat up. So if you haven't checked out the welding section at Harbor Freight to get some rods, they've only got 2 varieties, 6011 and 7018 in this 1/8 inch. So I'm kind of limited on varieties. It's not a welding supply store, but they've got a lot of welding consumables and stuff. But it's worth checking them out. All right, next up on the list is going to be a propane torch. This is a Bernzomatic, kind of a name brand one in the propane world, but they're awesome, right? Pull a button, and you've got fire. Who doesn't love setting stuff on fire? But that's a conversation for me and my psychiatrist. Anyways, whether you are lighting birthday candles, actually starting a campfire, or working on that rusty bolt that won't come out, or heat shrink, or whatever you're doing that needs a flame, these are super handy, right? A bottle of propane, little bottle of propane like this will last a long time if you're just using it very sparingly. If you are doing a lot of welding onto like cast materials, a lot of times you have to preheat those. Whatever you're doing that needs a flame, these are good. Harbor Freight's got 2 varieties. They've got one that's kind of basically a clone of this, and they've also got one where it's like the bottle is out in front. They're both probably pretty good options. I really like this electronic version. I like this, trigger start version myself, but to each his own. Next up is going to be the ratcheting wrench sets. Harbor Freight has a bunch of different varieties, so choose which one you like the best. But they're basically, so like this 12mm wrench, this is an old Craftsman one. I don't think they even make this style anymore. Basically, the end is ratchet. This used to be pretty trick technology, but now I think these are pretty standard. So if you don't have a set, or you need an extra set for like a backup or whatever, Harbor Freight's got a good variety. I really like using these. These are so flippin' handy. If you turn wrenches at all, these are a must. You have to go buy a set of these if you don't. They're on the list because you could never have too many, especially if you're on the side of the road and you just need to get in there and break something loose. Not having to do it with a regular box end wrench is very nice. They're a modern convenience, and they are absolutely worth the money. All right, number 6 is going to be this 14 amp Bauer circular saw. A circular saw is an absolute staple in woodworking and construction activities, right? Whether you are a woodworker or just a DIY hobbyist like me, this can be an invaluable piece of equipment. Break down sheet goods, cut lumber to length, and all sorts of stuff. I have built a ton, like an absolute ton, of shop infrastructure with just a circular saw, a straight edge, pocket hole guide, and an impact gun, right? Those things you can build. You would be absolutely amazed at how much you can build. So if you don't already have just a good plug-in circular saw, this is a good one to check out. All right, next up on the list is going to be one of the most loved and most feared items from Harbor Freight for any mechanic out there. It's going to be the jack stand, right? We all sort of have a love-hate relationship with these. I'm calling out the 3-ton version. You can get a pair of them for about 50 bucks. Whether you get the cool new colored ones, like they've got the whole range of colors, right? So if you need to match your jack stands to your toolbox, you can. But I've just got these old crappy ones. I've also got some 6-ton ones that are the Harbor Freight pre-lawsuit ones, so cross your fingers. And, we all have a love-hate relationship with these, right? We love them because if you're doing something under the car, you can throw them under there. might save your life one day. Or whatever. Also, like me, this old boy, been on jack stands for a minute. So, you gotta be careful because they're really sticky. Once you stick that card on them, maybe it won't come off for a long, long time. Depending on what you're doing. Shout out to my buddy Wyatt who said, you need tons and 40s. It's a different story, different video. But anyways, check out jack stands. If you don't have a set at all, you need some if you're doing any sort of mechanic work, because they truly will potentially save your life one day. I want you to be around. Work on your cars. Finish your project cars. So, jack stands. Check them out. Next up at number 9 is going to be this small 3-gallon wet dry vac. I know it's small. I know it's not that powerful. Some would even say it sucks. Okay, don't delete me, please. I'm sorry. But a small, portable, wet dry vac is super handy, right? Small spill inside the house, go grab the vac, clean it up. If you've got plumbing issues, you're having to like change out a faucet, and you need to have a wet vac to clean up some water, great. If you are cleaning out your car, it's great to just carry it out there. It's super easy. And if you're doing, some real small woodworking stuff, you can hold a nozzle right next to whatever you're cutting and suck up all the chips while you're cutting it. A small vac, if you don't have one, if you don't have a big, a bigger shop vac or wet dry vac, I think their shop vac's a name brand, but if you don't have one, this is a great entry level spot to pick one up, and on the cheap. All right, number 10. This sort of feels like a cop out because it's a whole aisle at the store, and this is going to be the safety aisle. Whatever we're doing, woodworking, mechanicking, fabricating, general household projects, we have to keep safety in mind. I am not the best about this, but after going to the urgent care 3 or 4 times for getting stuff stuck in my eyeballs, I'm a huge safety freak now. And so should you, right? Whether it's just some regular safety glasses, these are super cheap. $2 or $3 a pair. I think even the high-end ones are like $5 a pair. You can get tinted ones if you're doing outside stuff. Do clear ones for doing inside stuff. When the doctor lady at the urgent care looks at your eyes and goes, "Oh my God, there it is," you don't want to be on that end of it. Trust me. So whether it's safety glasses, a grinding shield, gloves, they've got lots of gloves. I like these ones a lot. Or regular, just like utility gloves. Hearing protection, right? None of us want to be the old person that's getting yelled at all the time because they can't hear anything. So wear some hearing protection. It will absolutely save you later in life. And last up, fire extinguisher, right? I keep a few of these in the garage because you don't ever want to lose everything when you could have prevented it with a $25 fire extinguisher, right? We do a lot of stuff, chemicals that are flammable, welding, cutting on things, and like I've talked about propane torch earlier, right? A fire extinguisher can literally be life or death, but also just the hassle of everything you own burning to the ground and dealing with insurance, not fun. So next time you're at the store, spend a little bit extra time walking up and down the safety aisle. So long story short, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So next time you're in the safety aisle, check it out. I mean, if you don't have safety glasses, pick some up. If you don't have any hearing protection, pick some up, because when you get to be an old person, you don't want to be the one that's all beat up. We want to be doing cool stuff for a long time. A little bit of safety goes a long ways. Hey, what's up everybody? Nick back here from Project Central, and today we're going to talk about 10 of my favorite items from Harbor Freight under $5. So go dig in those couch cushions, go scrap some beer cans, go dig through your wife's purse to find some spare change, because these are super affordable items that everybody should have. But if you don't have a Harbor Freight near you, don't worry, because I will post some Amazon links down below. These really help the channel and don't cost you any extra. So let's go. All right, number 10 is going to be air accessories, right? Every shop has some form of compressed air, most likely. Whether you're a mechanic shop and you're doing heavy impact work, or you're a body shop using a bunch of sanders and like air paint guns, or you're like a home hobbyist like me and you do a bunch of different things with air, whether that's brad nailers for woodworking or like impact tools for working on vehicles. Harbor Freight's got a pretty good selection of different air compressor attachments and fittings and stuff, but other than actual like attachment stuff, I really like these pistol grip blowguns. Right, these things are super simple. Air goes in one end, you squeeze the trigger, and air comes out this end. Right, so these are great for surface prep. If you're about to paint something, if you've got a dirty workbench, it's great to blow it off. And if you've got just some dust in the shop, you can always just kind of blow it out, and they're only like $4. Next up is going to be the Speed Square. If you've ever built anything, chances are you've used a Speed Square, and for like $4.99, having a couple extra of these laying around can be an absolute lifesaver. The two main uses I use these for now, since I'm not like in construction every day anymore, is I use these for scribing a straight line, right? So this edge is raised, so you can put that against like a board and mark a straight line on it for whatever measurement that is. Or I also use it for marking all the way around a piece of material that is too big to fit in my saw and I'm cutting it by hand. These are super trick. There's like, I don't know, 14 million uses for these around the shop, so pick a couple up next time you're at the store. Next up, number 3 is going to be wire brushes. There are a few different flavors at the Harbor Freight store, but the ones I like are these plastic ones. They come in sets of 3. They've got a steel bristle, that's what this one is. They've got a brass bristle, which is kind of a medium coarseness. And they also have a nylon bristle, which is like a jumbo toothbrush, basically. And I use all 3 of them for different applications. If I'm doing like real heavy engine degreasing, the steel ones are awesome. If I'm doing like lightweight, maybe like gun cleaning or something like that, the nylon bristle works really well at not scratching or marring the surface at all. But they've also got wood ones or these plastic handle ones. Pick your poison. They both work really well. And I like them both. All right, number 4 is going to be these adjustable quick bar clamps. The 6-inch variety and the 12-inch variety. Both of them work great. If you need the extra reach, the 12-inch ones are great. They're $1 more a piece, but I think these are $3.50 a piece and these are $4.50 a piece if I remember correctly. And I like these a lot. C-clamps have their place. The squeezy handle ones are okay. I've had a bunch of those break. These things have lasted me forever. I bought these a very long time ago, and you can see how rusty and crusty they are. That's because I use and abuse them, and they just keep on working. For the money, you cannot beat these. And I like these so much that when I was building my welding table earlier this year, I actually designed my table around being able to use these as like fixture clamps. So that's how much I like these. And wise man once said, you never have too many clamps when you're working on stuff. At the end of the day, when you're trying to do something and you're 1 clamp short at the end of the project, that's a bummer, dude. Not good. So buy another clamp or 2 next time you're at the store. If you watch any of my videos, any of my other videos, you know that there's a couple things I'd normally talk about that are big deals to me. And one of those is safety. If you don't have earmuffs and you do a lot of like grinding or fabrication, even these cheapo ones can save your hearing. Because I don't want to hear ringing, the tinnitus or whatever it's called. I don't want to hear that when I get old and I'm trying to work on hot rods or do projects in the shop. And then also safety glasses. These are the clear ones. Truthfully I prefer the tinted ones. I just do a lot more work outside in the driveway or with the garage door open during the day. So the tinted ones are usually the ones I go to, but I just had these handy. I think they're, I don't know, $2 a pair for these clear or tinted ones. You can get them on sale, obviously. And I think these earmuffs are like $4 a piece. They're very handy to have in the shop because if you have safety gear around, you're more likely to use it. I know that with this stuff is within arm's reach, I will 10 times more likely to put it on. And because I've got a bunch of kids that frequently are in the shop with me doing stuff, I stock up on this stuff because I want to get my kids in the habit of putting PPE on so that, you know, they don't get stuff in their eye. Because I have got crap in my eye before and had to go to the doctor, and that is not a good time. Not fun. All right, next up, and the other thing I usually talk about is lighting. Harbor Freight has these 2 packs of mini flashlights, mini aluminum flashlights with a button on the end, and they work pretty good. They're pretty bright. Ooh. These little flashlights are super nice because, one, they're super cheap. You can get 2 of them. They come with batteries, so you don't have to buy batteries separate. They do eat batteries, so that is one thing to consider. But when you are broke down on the side of the road, power goes out at your house like happened to me this year, or you're just like camping or doing stuff and you know it gets dark on you. Whatever you're doing, having some flashlights, even these cheapo ones that are sort of disposable, can really save the day. I know we buy these pretty regularly when we go to the store, and we'll give them to the kids to throw in their backpacks. They've got some in their room. We put them in the camping gear, in the camper, in, you know, emergency kits, everything. A lot of times they get these flashlights because for the price, I don't know, $3 for 2 of them, can't go wrong. And back in the day, you used to have coupons to get these for free. But we'll talk more about that kind of stuff later. Moving on, some of my favorite fab tools under $5 are these wire wheels. These are these do an amazing job at surface prep. If you've got some material you're trying to weld on that has been sitting out for a while, maybe got some rust on it or corrosion or whatever, or you're like me and you have to use whatever you can find at times, which means it's got paint on it. These do a great job at stripping paint, stripping rust, stripping mill scale off, so you can, you know, get a nice clean weld. As a filthy casual welder, that's one of the things I struggle with the most is surface prep and taking my time and make sure everything's nice and clean before I start welding. So these are helpful. I really like having a dedicated grinder for these. Harbor Freight's got the $10 or $12 Warrior brand. I've got one of those that I need to just put one of these on and leave it and never take it off. So I'll probably do that sometime in the future. Next up, since we're talking about fabrication, a couple tools that I use on a lot of projects are angle finders, right? This is a magnetic base, so it's got a magnet on the bottom, it's got a dial, and what's cool is that no matter which way you rotate it, right, that dial stays perfectly vertical. These are really handy if you're trying to do something in relation to the ground level, right? Sometimes if you're building whatever, it doesn't necessarily matter what the ground is doing on a vehicle or whatever your project is, but if you're trying to set something like a pinion angle, even if you've got a sloped floor, making sure your shelf is level or whatever you're doing that needs an angle finder, that you, like if you're trying to match something to the floor in relation to the floor or whatever. I'm not doing a good job at explaining this, but this one's cool because you can find the angles of stuff relative, you know, to the ground level. This one, on the other hand, allows you to find like inside corners, right? So this would be like an inside corner if you had a miter, if you're trying to find the angle of a miter, or if it's like an outside corner, right? So like if this, right? So like this is like a outside corner. Each one of those is like $5 at the store, and for doing like roll cage work or tube work, welding stuff, or even just general woodworking, if you're trying to match something that's got a funky angle, these are super nice because you can just, you know, put it up, bend it around, and then look at it and say, oh, well, that's my angle. So these are, if you don't have one of these are great to have in the toolbox. If you're only going to get one, I would get this one over this one, unless you do a lot of like driveline work or whatever, then these are pretty handy. Alright, next up is the magnetic parts tray. These are the little ones. These are like the 4-inch ones. I told you we'd talk about back in the day we used to get stuff for free. This is one of the things we used to get for free. Shout out to all the homies who remember getting a bunch of these for free every time you went to the store. Well, they don't do that anymore. They're still cheap. They're still like, I don't know, $2 or $3 a piece, but free was better in my opinion. I like these a lot for, you know, working on projects. Doesn't matter if it's automotive or even like woodworking projects. Sometimes you only need a handful of screws, and I don't know what to say except, you know, they're super handy. You should make sure you pick some up. Last up is going to be 1/3 of my holy trinity of field universal repairs. You have duct tape, 550 paracord, and zip ties. These ones arguably are not that great, but at, I don't know, $3.50 for 100 at what, 3.5 cents a piece, they're fine. They're perfectly acceptable to have a whole bundle of these in every tool bag, every toolbox, every vehicle. That if you go in and, you know, you plan to spend an extra $10 to $15 or so at the store every time you go in, just getting, you know, the flashlight, the flashlight combo, the zip ties, and a couple of other odds and ends I've mentioned here. When you are on the side of the road and you're doing something, or you just need one zip tie to hold up that brake caliper while you change your brakes, these are the ones you want because they are super cheap and super disposable. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful. Let me know down in the comments what I left off this list. Like I said, this is only 10 items, and Harbor Freight has probably hundreds of items under $5, and that's even just without coupons or buy anything, get something free. Let me know down in the comments what y'all think, and take care of one another. I'll see you next time. Bye. I'll go dig through my wife's purse and see if I can't find some change.